Gavel into session, our executive session. I need to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. I need a motion to approve, please. Oh, going with Jane, second.
Second.
Katie, second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Passes. Need a motion to approve secretary's fees. So moved. Completely blank. Lost it. And I need a second.
Jane seconds.
Jane seconds. All right. I think that's why Kevin used to make everybody say their names first. It's not Robert's rules. He couldn't remember everybody's name.
It helps me too, so they should have their names on the back.
Yeah, right. That would make sense. Okay, so close that. And we've got 8 minutes. Watch yourself. Clock. Call to order Zoning Board of Appeals for, what is this, July 11th, 2024. First, when a matter is called, the applicant or his or her agent will present the case. Once the call is complete, originals of any petition should be given to our clerk, Jody. Copies of the petition should then be distributed to the board members. After the applicant's presentation, all interested persons in favor of the application will come forward and speak. After those in favor have spoken, those in opposition will then be heard. The applicant or his or her agent may then address the comments made by those in opposition. I will reserve my right to hold those comments on point and on task. It's not a chance to relitigate your entire argument. Second, this meeting is being taped. As required by state law, it is important that we be able to understand the tape. Therefore, only one person may speak at a time, and anyone who speaks must come forward, speak into the microphone, and give his or her name and address. Welcome the comments of all interested persons, but must exercise discretion in making sure that your comments are on point. And if you are too far off the point, we reserve the right to restrict your comments at any time. At this point, I will be clear. If there is anyone here in opposition to any matter, please be aware that this board has a specific purview. Traffic, lighting, noise, anything that has to do with something other than the zoning regulations, we do not have purview over those matters. We understand that people have emotional and personal responses to things. We will ask that you keep your observations or your objections to the point that we are here to understand. Also, those presenting your cases. We are human on the board. We understand that there's a family reason or some personal reason that you are here presenting your case. What we attempt to do is keep things as to the point as possible and explain your hardship to us as best you can within the confines of what exists as hardships in our town. Third, applicants and interested persons may remain in attendance after the public hearing for the executive session to find out what was decided, or you may call the zoning office tomorrow to find out what was decided. It's always a good idea to stick around because you'll hear how we deliberate and understand if it didn't go your way, what you might want to change, or how we came to our decision. Fourth, if an application for a waiver is granted, the waiver is not valid if the notice is not recorded. The applicant must bring a check in the amount of $60 made out to the town of Fairfield to the zoning office on Wednesday or later following the meeting. or proper recording of the notice of filing. Any waiver involving construction of a new dwelling, an addition, or exterior alterations will require an as-built survey prior to an issuance of certificate of zoning compliance and a certificate of occupancy. Again, I will make clear our requirements for decorum. If I have not acknowledged you to speak, no one should be talking. Be clear, be respectful. If any objection or anything is of a personal nature, it doesn't belong in this room. So with that, I know who's first. So number 7 on the continued docket has been continued. Number 1 on our general docket is 22 Fairfield Place, map 231, parcel 355, petition of 22 Fairfield Place LLC for a variance of the zoning regulation section 12.7.6.2 to increase the permitted sideline setback from 0 feet, proposing 4.4 feet. Section 12.7.6.3 to reduce the rear setback from 10 feet, proposing 3.4 feet. Permission to remove and rebuild an existing garage premises DCD zone.
Chair, members of the board, Chris Russo with Russo Rizzi LLC, offices at 10 Sasco Hill Road in Fairfield. Here on behalf of the applicant, with George Elias, our summer intern, who's here to see if he can learn something from me today. I don't know about that, but he's here with me on this application. For something that you're gonna laugh at me because this is something zoning attorneys say a lot, but this is a classic case of why the board is here and the reason for a variance. And somewhere where strict adherence to the regulations really is counter to what the intent of the regulations are. And before I get into the details, just looking at this logically, and I'll get into the details and how it has a hardship and what the regulations say. But what we have here is property that is in the DCD. Post Road is right here. So just to orient you kind of location-wise, the vacant car dealership is Exide, that's across Post Road. And there's the vacant car dealership that's along our entire rear here. That's in the DCD. Then you have Gruel Britannia here, which is also in the DCD. You have their parking lot across Fairfield Place. Directly across from this site are 2 residential uses. The zone, particularly on this one, this is DCD. So this is not a residential zone boundary. The DCD continues into the middle of that property. So looking back at it, what we have here is we have commercial use, residential use surrounding this property. And what we're proposing is to knock down an existing garage and rebuild for a proposed 4-car garage. This building is currently in office use. It is proposed to be used by a client, still going to be in office use. He runs a cleaning company. He has cleaning vans, and what he's looking to do, he's 4 of them. He's looking to construct this 4-car garage so he can locate all 4 of his vans within this garage. I don't need a use variance. That's all I'm here for today. The size of the building is not something I'm looking for a variance on either. So we're way under coverage on this. So the DCD allows 75%. With this addition, with this garage addition, we're only at 32.3. So we're still then less than half of the coverage you're permitted here. And then floor area, we're allowed 150%. With this, what we're proposing here with the garage, we're only going to still be at 45.5. So less than a third of what's allowed in the zone. So that's not the issue. What we're here before you today is where to locate it. And I think if somebody was just looking at it and say, all right, well, here's 2 commercial pieces, here's 2 residential pieces, where would you want to locate this? We want to locate it in this area right here, rather than anywhere closer to the residential. Especially, and I'll show you some pictures when you look at Fairfield Place. Yes, this is a commercial zone, but as you continue down Fairfield Place, it's residential. So you would want to skew it towards the commercial. The unique thing with this particular property and with this particular application is what the regs are trying to do is get you to push it toward the residences. The regs are saying you could go to 0 feet setback here, and that it would have to be pushed closer towards the street line. So even though if you look at the regs, particularly the DCD regs have a additional setback to residential. Clearly the intent is when you have commercial and residential uses next to each other, you want to try to get the commercial away from the residential. But the unique thing here is this is the DCD zone, even though it's got a house on it. So we're just trying to, and I'll get into the details now of the proposal. So again, has an existing 2-story building. It's an office building. My client's purchased the property and is looking to install his office there. With that, he has, it's a cleaning business. He has 4 cleaning vans. He's looking to do, right now there's a parking area. That's 5 spaces. And then there's the 2-car garage there. These 4 cleaning vans. Rather than having the cleaning vans out in the open, he's proposing to demolish the 2-car garage that's existing and build a new 4-car garage where each of the vans would go. And basically, when the people, his employees, come in and they come in on their cars, what they will do is they will go get the van supplies. They will leave, and he will, and they will put their cars inside, and then they'll have additional spaces. Generally, he does not get people who come to his office, but he will have additional spaces. So we're not changing the amount of parking. There's 7 spaces now. So we're proposing a 4-car garage, and then there's 1, 2, 3. These 3 spaces will be lost to access the garage there. So we're not changing the parking. Building is allowed. The size of the building, its dimensions, its height are all permitted in the zone. The use of storing the cleaning vehicles inside, that's permitted. It's all permitted. What the variances are in the DCD zone, you can either be 0-foot setback or 10 feet. It's one or the other. And rather than, again, we have a really good relationship with this neighbor. She signed a petition. I'll give you the petition, a copy of it, as well as the neighbor here. So the 2 neighbors that are most impacted both signed a petition in support. But rather than, because if the variance was denied, the answer would be to move this building closer to her house. So what we're asking to do is merely maintain the exact same line here as the existing garage, and then put the bulk of it this way, which is towards the Rule Britannia side and the dealership side. Now, the rear setback variance increases just because of the way, and this is another unique feature about the property, the rear lot line is angled. So we're maintaining the exact same rear line as the existing garage, and it's just carrying across. But because this pinches in, we're requesting a setback variance to 3.4 feet. But again, logically, if you were going to put a petition on here, you would want to stay away from the residential. The regs clearly want you to do that with their setback boundaries. It's just this unique case. What I'll show you is, just so you see how the zone does lay out in this area. So this is the site right here. Here's the old Infiniti dealership right here. Exide's right over here. Post Road, Fairfield Place. The DCD continues down Fairfield Place. So it's not just the Post Road properties that are in the DCD. It's the, and that continues down the line here. But you see Fairfield Place here, it's in the DCD. And this is our neighbors. This is a residential house. This is a residential house. Britannia has its parking, additional parking here. Scroll Britannia. So that's a unique feature. If if this line, this residential line was on our property line, then we would have an additional setback. But because it's not, we either have the 0 or the 10-foot setback. And that's really the gist of the variance. What I'll do is I'll show you just so you can see it. Pictures. So here's the office building, proposed to remain exactly as it is. It's an office now. It's going to stay an office. It's really going to not have a significant amount of traffic. Again, he hits his clients to the phone. He doesn't get for people coming in. Here's the existing garage, and you can see it. This is both the same one. So the same setback we're keeping. It's just basically we're taking it down. I'll show you what it looks like elevations wise. But it's starting there and then continue on over here. What it would do if the variance were denied, what would happen is this garage would shift up against that fence, and then it would have to be pulled forward. Which for issues of circulation, but also just you don't want to crowd this house. It's a nice looking office house, and there, if you've been down Fairfield Place, there's a lot of charming houses on it that are close to the road, just to get some separation from this house. You see this, so this is behind the house. That's Rule Britannia. That's the backside of Rule Britannia. Here's the Rule Britannia parking lot, which is on the opposite side of Fairfield Place. Here's the house that's directly, it's a residential house, but it's in the DCD, directly across from our site. This is the house to the south of us. That's the one that's directly abutting. You can see our garage, our current garage there. So it's pulled up front, but it's also, there's not much setback on that side. So we're trying to give as much setback as possible. And then you can see, this is just looking up Fairfield Place. You know, it's residential. There's a lot of cars up here on the road, but you don't see a lot of commercial vehicles. And what we're trying to do is hide our commercial vehicles within this garage, which is good for us for safety reasons, storage, but I think also goes to the character of the town, to the street, I should say. Then this last one is just a picture of another house, which actually also has a 4-car garage on Fairfield Place. I don't know if that's associated with the business of theirs or what, but they have almost they have 4 individual doors. We have 2 doors. Basically the same thing. Setback away from this house that's very close to the road, and we're looking to match the exact same thing. Use the elevations. 2 overhead doors, asphalt roof. I talked to my client because it's just a siding to suit owner. What he was thinking as far as siding, he's looking to match the existing house and use the same type of siding just so they work it out. And then that's just the floor plan, which is just, it's just a 4-car garage, so it's simple. It's just an area. I will hand you the petition, which is signed by the property owners that are closest to where we're requesting a setback variance. So the residential neighbor right next to us, and the dealership that's behind us. Just to go over the hardship. First is, and I'll go back to the site plan for this. There already is an existing garage, and we're essentially using the same plane, same facade location as the current garage. We're matching it here on this side. We're matching it here along the back side. And again, that rear setback is only closer because from what's existing, just because the way we have this unique kind of angled rear property line that makes it 3.4 feet here. It's 4.4 feet over here. We're proposing to increase. We're not, usually I'm here asking you to reduce a setback. I'm asking you to increase a setback from 0 feet to 4.4 feet. Also, one interesting thing, because this lot is facing Post Road, this is their side setback, it's our rear setback. So this lot could actually go to 0 feet under the zoning standards. So they could get to 0, but we have to be 10 feet because it's our rear. So they could get right up against us. So I think this 3.4 feet, when you consider the fact they could go to 0, I think is more than sufficient setback. It's a commercial use. And again, we are fully compliant as far as parking for this building, and we are staying well beneath possible development that you could have on this property. We're way under the building coverage. We are way under the floor area. And really the result of if the variances were not approved would just be, this would be shifted over to be 0 feet, and then it would crowd into this house right here, because it would have to move up 7 feet. Just have a more clustered look. When we're trying to, this has kind of a nice residential look on a residential street. We're trying to maintain some buffer. So pretty straightforward. Again, I think a classic case for variance, but happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Board have any questions? Jane?
So what's the hardship?
Well, again, the hardship is that there's multiple. The regs are clear that they are trying to create a buffer between residential and commercial. We have an instance where there's commercial uses or commercial zone right next to each other, but this is really a residential use. So the regs are telling us to locate this closer. All it's doing is pushing us closer to the house. And the same thing here on this side. It's forcing this garage to move up. You crowd this, and it's just completely counter to the intent of the regulations. If this was residential boundary here, then there would be a greater setback. But that's not that. The reason I need variance is because I'm trying to maintain this buffer. So to me, that's clearly counter to the intent of the regulations.
The current lot and use are conforming, correct?
Complete. The lot's conforming. The use is conforming. The size of this garage is conforming. The storage of the vehicles inside or outside is conforming. All that's conforming. It's really just locating it.
So you could build the building you want to build in a way that's conforming to the zoning regulations.
But it would be counter to the intent of the regulations, which is to try to create buffer between residential and commercial.
You could move the garage closer to the house.
Yeah, and you would have to move this to 0 feet. So you'd have to put this right on this neighbor's property line. And you would crowd the back of this house. I mean, one of the reasons we are requesting for this to be set back is access. You know, I mean, because there's a door here. So if this moved up 7 feet, you're talking about a tight turn to get into this into this bay here.
Question for you.
Sure.
Maybe I'm reading this wrong. It looks to me like you're a non-conforming lot because you're required to have 10,000 square feet, you only have 8,000.
Right, but I'm not asking to create the lot is what I'm saying. And I'm sorry, if that what I'm saying is I don't need a variance to create.
No, I know, but it's a non-conforming lot.
Oh, yes, yeah,
Right?
as far as size, lot area, yes.
And that's a hardship.
Yes. But it's not a lot that I need to establish, right?
But that in itself is a hardship because you have.
Oh, yeah, you could say because of the lot size, it reduces the amount.
Commissioner O'Grady just handed you your hardship.
Okay.
Say thank you. Okay. All right.
Fantastic.
Jane, go ahead.
Okay, so you have a 2-car garage there now.
Correct.
And it's being used.
Yes, I think it was by the prior tenant. Yes.
Okay, so
The garage is in good shape. Yes.
why don't you just build a second garage
Well,
next to it?
it's not that deep of a garage, and just put another one in addition next to it.
Variance.
Still need one if it was within.
We're gonna need it back
10
here
feet.
still. So then this one would be here,
Yeah.
and then you would have another garage separate that would be up here.
This is one of those things you.
But again, I think the intent of the regulations is clear.
Is that. Garage proposal.
But it's nowhere near what's allowed in the zone.
I'm just saying this is. Context is everything.
Well, again, the goal is to locate the commercial vans within the garage. And I think having these vans out here will much greater disturb the look of the neighborhood than if we have it here. One, this garage is already on this street. There's already the same type of garage that I showed you that's here on this street. And again, what we're trying to do, it's a commercial piece. It can be operated, but we're locating this back here rather than having it up here. And if you can imagine looking at the photos. No, if we would drive it down, these two buildings would be on top of each other.
Another question. You don't show the shape of the new proposed driveway. Are you confident you can get a car into that fourth?
Yeah, so they did the turning radius and what
hitting the roof of the overhang. That's.
So there's a walkway here that's proposed to be removed.
Right.
They have enough space here for an additional space, and then where the entry is for the door, when they did out for the vans, the turning, how you would turn interior traffic, it would eliminate these 3 spaces.
Right. Yes. I'm looking at section 28, which is a section of.
As far as there's 7 spaces now, we're not changing the.
Right, but in the zoning regulations, there's different. So which of the
counts? You mean which one of the?
Which
one
of,
and 250. One for 250.
So it's office. Talks about that as being parking area. I guess a question for Mr. Decker.
Yeah.
Do they count parking in a garage as part of the parking requirements?
Absolutely.
Even if it's locked, no one can get in there?
They still count. It's like a garage at home.
Okay.
It still counts as a parking space.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Seeing none, hearing none. We'll ask if there's anyone here to speak in favor of the application, either here or online. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the application, either here or online? Seeing none and hearing none.
Chair, I just want to say again, we submitted for record a petition to support these neighbors, the 2 that are most directly impacted, who would be, in this one especially, who would be impacted most if this variance wasn't.
Understood.
Because this would be moved up against her.
Yeah. Thanks. Up next, number 2, 1177 and 1180 Fairfield Beach Road, map 184, parcel 69 and 217, petition of Snug Estate LLC for a variance of the zoning regulation section 11.1.4.1 to allow a detached accessory structure to have a finished living floor area with plumbing and heat, section 11.10, to increase the lot coverage from 29.6, proposing 32%. Section 11.11.2 to reduce the side setback from 5 feet, currently 2 feet, proposing 2 feet. Section 11.14 or 14 to reduce the setback from Pine Creek from 10 feet, currently 9.1 feet, proposing 7.2 feet. Floor overhang 3.9 feet to AC deck and 2 feet to proposed deck. Permission to demo existing accessory structure and rebuild. Premises is BD zone. Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is John Fallon. I'm an attorney here in Fairfield, and I'm pleased to be representing the applicant, Snug Harbor Estate, which is the owner of the properties designated as 1177 and 1180 Fairfield Beach Road. Property, as the call indicates, is located in the Beach District. As you can see from the survey that was submitted, it's improved with a dwelling that's located on the portion of the lot adjacent to Long Island Sound, and the existing accessory structure that's the subject of this application, which is adjacent to Pine Creek. The parties in interest with regard to Snug Harbor or Snug Estates LLC are Jennifer Amdur, who's seated in the back, and her husband, Ted Swiderski. They purchased this property in 2021. I would say as we review the application, the two underpinnings in terms of their motivations are things that are, I think, very important to all of us, and those are work and family, not necessarily in that order. Family and work seems to be the priority that we should apply. But by way of background in that regard, Ted and Jennifer are graduates of Fairfield University, and after they both graduated from law school, they decided to come back here and make Fairfield their home. They have two young children, Devin and Sadie. Devin is 3 and Sadie is 1. The existing accessory structure, if you may have seen when you made your visit, which you probably did, is in very poor condition. It's not FEMA compliant, and as a practical matter, it's not functional. It most certainly has a negative aesthetic impact on the neighborhood based upon its current condition. Jennifer and Ted are making this application and the variances that we will review for permission to construct a new garage structure, generally on the same footprint as the existing structure, to be demolished. And as we will discuss, it is proposed that the garage will have an area of habitable space above. As designed by Fine Home Design, and you have the plans, the new structure, we've shared this with our neighbors, and we'll talk about that in a minute, is aesthetically pleasing and will have a very positive impact on the character of the neighborhood. I talk about work and family. Let's talk about work first. Ted is a financial advisor focusing on not-for-profit entities such as hospitals. Jennifer is an attorney specializing in civil litigation. Their respective professional responsibilities require both of them on a daily basis to work remotely via phone and internet. Indeed, as I point out in my narrative, Ted's employment responsibilities are generally addressed by way of homework, by way of virtual meetings and the like. Similarly, Jennifer quite regularly will need the use of some portion of the property at home to tend to her professional responsibilities, including virtual meetings and court proceedings. All of this arises from what we all have lived through in terms of the changes in working patterns and environments since COVID. The primary dwelling simply does not offer or afford an opportunity for such a separate, isolated work area, especially when you have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old underfoot. So the nature of their work, as I've described it, is such that they do not require and will not be seeing any clients on a face-to-face basis in their home. Their work in the habitable area, as proposed above the garage, will be limited to phone conferences, virtual meetings, and the like. You, as a board, have seen similar applications in the Beach District on a regular basis, especially since the pandemic hit. Two very recent ones that come to mind, which have very similar underpinnings of work and family we will discuss, are 2101 and 2102 Fairfield Beach Road, and 31 and 38 Pine Creek Avenue. I could cite others, but those are two fairly recent ones where exactly the same home office use with some family utilization was discussed and approved, and the same variance with regard to the habitable space was granted. So I talked about work, but let's talk about family, which is also a very serious priority and underpinning for the motivation of Ted and Jennifer in this particular case. As you can see when you look at the floor plan, there's some opportunity here to provide some space that will be used to allow their aging parents an opportunity, especially in the summer, to visit them and their grandchildren. Part of the context of this, and very importantly, involves, unfortunately, Jennifer's father, Bruce, who's confined to a wheelchair and has been diagnosed with primary progressive multiple sclerosis. As you know, is a serious and debilitating neurodegenerative condition. It's really become very hard for Jennifer's father, especially due to the fact of his MS and the fact that he's bound in a wheelchair to visit and have some place where there's a safe and substantially ADA compliant area to meet his needs during those visits. This space will certainly help and will in fact address that need. The opportunity that will give him to enjoy time with his children and grandchildren and enjoying their annual trips to Fairfield Beach is extremely important and is otherwise going to be very limited because there simply is no required or available ADA compliant provisions in the main house, and nor does the age of the house, its current configuration, provide an opportunity to do so. So that is part of this application too, the work, but the family as well. The same thing will extend to the enjoyment of the property and visits from time to time by Ted's family. His father and mother are both 72, and although thankfully in good health, this space will provide them an area for some privacy when they make their annual visits to visit their children and grandchildren. What you also see on the floor plans is the storage and loft area. This is included because the house on Snug Harbor, as it's known, the main house, simply doesn't provide really any meaningful space for storage. They'd like to have some of that on this level. That provision is extremely important, especially in the beach area when you're talking about the storage of outdoor equipment and furniture during times of adverse weather and storms. So what does motivate this from the client's perspective is family and work. So let's talk about it now from the legal perspective. The variances that are sought here are four. One, we seek a variance of section 11.1.4.1, requesting to be allowed that this accessory structure have finished livable floor area and plumbing fixtures and heat. That's the variance that you've seen numerous times over the last 2 to 3 years relative to accessory structures, detached accessory structures on the beach district. We also seek a variance of section 11.14 with regard to the setback from Pine Creek. That is occasioned, as you can see from the architectural plans, due to the decorative floor overhangs that we wanted to create to make this an aesthetically attractive development or design. It also relates somewhat to the AC platform, which we want to place, and a small proposed deck, which I'll discuss momentarily. I'll discuss it now. The proposed deck is consistent with immediately adjacent accessory structures, which also have small deck areas looking over Pine Creek. Jody, could I ask you to pull up those photographs? You took 4 photos. Whoops, we're gonna have to get sideways, but that's okay. I have them here, so we can. There they go. Okay, so the first one is if you're facing our property like this, looking out onto Pine Creek, that is the house immediately to our right. As you can see, it has a deck. That deck is actually out somewhat further than ours will be, but it's there. If you go to the second, Jody. If I turn to the left and I look to the property immediately adjacent to me on the other side, this is what I see there. The second story deck, the area below, and then a what I refer to as a wood deck area that protrudes out. If you go to the third on that, that's just another perspective of that deck. And then the fourth picture I have just by way of context, is this is our property. This is where we would like to build and primarily have the deck extend out as shown on the site plan and the architectural plans. As I'll elaborate on in a minute, both those adjacent abutting neighbors have signed a petition, which I will submit momentarily. Let me talk a little bit more about the deck. And I recognize we have to get to the hardship issue, but I'm giving you context here. The deck is an amenity. It's nice, but it's especially something that was driven in this design as a welcomed addition for Jennifer's father. Because honestly, his opportunities when he does visit here to enjoy the outdoors and what comes, the good things that come from beach living are extremely limited. He can't go to the beach with any ease at all because he's totally confined to a wheelchair. So this deck, as we propose it, will not only be a nice amenity for the family, we don't deny, but the particular motivation here was to have something for Jennifer's dad that would allow him to enjoy what you come to the beach to enjoy. He comes primarily to visit, obviously, his children and grandchildren, but this is an important amenity as well. We also seek a variance of section 11.10 to increase the coverage by 2.4%. Again, the coverage increase is occasioned by the decorative roof overhangs, which we'd like not to use, the AC platform and deck that we have to elevate in accordance with FEMA compliance, and the deck itself, which I talked about momentarily ago. It goes without saying that the existing structure in its dilapidated condition is not FEMA compliant. This new structure will be FEMA compliant, and other than the variances that I've outlined, it will be otherwise compliant with the regulations. So let's talk about the legal underpinnings again. Pardon my voice, but it's holding up. Connecticut General Statutes 8-6, as you know, you need to make two findings. You have to find that what is proposed will not substantially affect the comprehensive zoning plan, and you must find that there's elements of hardship in the facts presented to you, which the law recognizes as sufficient to grant a variance. Let's start with the first. I cite in my material the Egan case, which stands for the proposition that if the use to be made of a property after a variance is granted is a permitted use and or consistent with other uses in the area, then the first part of the test is met. I think the photographs document consistency with the other homes in the area, and clearly we're not going to be changing the use, the historic use of the property as a residence, and that will not change, and that is a permitted use in the zone. And I indicated we did review the application with our neighbors, including both directly abutting neighbors and others as well. I've already filed this electronically for your record, but I'll provide you with the petitions signed by the neighbors in support of the application. I think it's fair to say, without speaking for them, that they find what we are proposing to be consistent with their properties, in no way inhibiting the value of their property, and indeed based upon the clear improvement aesthetically that will be provided by this new structure as we propose it, to have a benefit to their properties from an aesthetic standpoint. With regard to the hardship issues, especially as it relates to the structural variances that we seek that I reviewed, the setback and coverage, I cite at my page 5 of my material that it's long been held by our Connecticut courts, and I cite the cases to you, that the location of a pre-existing non-conforming structure on a lot creates a proper basis for a finding of hardship. The new proposed garage will be in fact substantially located on the same footprint as the existing structure in order to ensure that there'll be no increase in nonconformities from what has historically existed, except for those minor changes that we want to make to accommodate the decorative overhangs, the AC platform, and the small deck. With reference to the variance of section 11.1.4.1, which you have seen numerous times over the last 2 years and seen fit to grant, what was pointed out in those cases and is equally true here now is that the purpose and intent of section 11.1.4.1, when it was adopted by the board at the time the beach district regulations were adopted, was to ensure that no accessory structure in the beach area would be used as a dwelling. In that regard, I point out that the floor plan, which we propose, makes no provision or request for any cooking facilities. And this is consistent with the purpose and intent of the regulations with regard to the avoidance of this accessory structure's use as a dwelling. It's consistent with the floor plans of previous similar applications that you have approved. And I will say for the record, to bolster what is already obvious in the regulations, that Jennifer and Ted would certainly agree to a condition of approval that the new structure, should you approve it, will be maintained as approved and not utilized, converted, or occupied as a dwelling in the future, nor will the floor plan be changed in any way in terms of any change that would acquaint the possibility of utilization as a dwelling. So, in summary, work and family, the approval will allow us a long overdue opportunity to replace an existing and substantially dilapidated accessory structure with a new FEMA compliant structure. It will have a very positive impact on the surrounding neighborhood, as the neighbors have documented by their approval and signature of the petition. It will provide modest habitable additional space that will be used as a home office area for Ted and Jennifer, and space to accommodate the needs of their parents, especially Jennifer's father, when they make periodic visits to the family, this young family who they want to be with, but for whom, especially with regard to Jennifer's father, special accommodations need to be made. We think we satisfy the legal standards that are appropriate here. And as I said, we think this is an appropriate utilization of the accessory structures along Fairfield Beach Road as you've come to see them and approve them over the last half decade in any event. And this will just allow us as a family, Jennifer and Ted as a family, to address this as their forever home, and will allow them to address the needs they have professionally and personally to a young couple who will return to this town after spending their college years here, because this is where they wanted to be and where they want to raise their family. Answer any questions you may have.
That has nothing to do with
Sure. There's two bases of hardships there. One relates to the variances that are in front of you concerning setbacks and coverage. Okay, and those are the cases that I cited, page 5 of my material, that says that if you have a pre-existing non-conforming structure, that provides a proper basis, provided the first part of the statutory test is met, for the granting of a variance. And we are basically abiding by those cases because we're substantially replacing the garage in the current location. Slightly bigger, but again, what drives the bigness is based upon the AC platform and the decorative overhangs. So yes, bigger, but that is in the context of what we're trying to do aesthetically and functionally. The second area of hardship, and it kind of gets to something my brother Christopher mentioned before, and no, I'm not going to share any part of the feed with him, but intent of the regulations. I was there, I was on the committee when they adopted the beach district. And what drove the adoption of section 11.1.4.1 was to ensure that accessory structures would not be modified to create opportunities to be utilized as illegal second dwellings. The intent of the regulation is preserved by this application. and by numerous, and we've evolved under the leadership of this board with our interpretation and application of 11.1.4.1. And what the proper focus of this board has been to ensure that the intent of the regulations is met. And that is property, the accessory structure will not be utilized as a dwelling. So you have sought and imposed conditions of approval, the type that we've offered here, relative that it will not be utilized as a dwelling, that the floor plan will not be modified, etc. But the key argument or the key point to address directly your situation is the law recognizes that in looking at the issue of hardship, you look to the intent of the regulations, much like you heard in the previous application. So I hope I've answered both the questions as it relates to both the structural variances and the with regard to the habitable space.
Okay, so 11.1 is very specific, cannot have heat.
It actually says can't have livable floor area, plumbing, or heat.
Right.
Correct.
So
that's what we're asking you to grant variance of, as you have in the past.
we don't go by precedent.
I understand that, but you do go in consistency, which we appreciate.
I just, in my recollection, similar applications to a half bath upstairs, you have a full bath upstairs.
I would recollect that at least matter of 2101 Fairfield Beach Road matter, there was a full bath, but I wouldn't want to say that without double checking. I will say this, however. We wouldn't ask for a full bath. I recognize this strays a little bit from, don't get personal with me, but we wouldn't be asking for a full bath if it wasn't for Jennifer's father. Because there is no ability for us to establish an ADA compliant bath facility for him when he visits in main house. And this will give us that opportunity. And I would sense again that in the context of ensuring that the intent of the regulation is in no way diminished, the fact that this bath is a full bath rather than a half bath doesn't negate that. Because normally what you need to look at is anything that would look like, walk like, quack like a kitchen or kitchen facility. And we make no provision for that, and you can bolster that by way of a condition of approval.
This family room with the deck is one.
It is. There's a chair. There will be a chair lift to accommodate Jennifer's father. No, but I just answered your question.
Yeah,
I'm talking about his disability, so it's a natural question to say, well, how's he going to get up there? Right. And that's how. Huh?
Doesn't live there.
No, but he wants to visit there, visit his grandkids for a substantial period of time, and he'd like to, when he visits, stay overnight.
So the fact that the deck, the size that it is to accommodate.
Primarily, again, his easy access and enjoyment of the deck, but we did try to keep the deck in its design and dimensions consistent with our neighbors, so that would be no question that we were in any way inhibiting their views or anything. As I said, I showed the pictures and they have signed the petition.
And it's the dimension of the deck that's pushing the coverage.
Primarily, the AC platform also contributes, and to a minor extent, the decorative overhangs, which technically count coverage.
But
Hypothetically, it could. Hypothetically, it could. But nothing that's driving the coverage variance relates to the habitable space. I guess that's the point I want to make.
yeah, two separate parts of there.
It's right.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask, because you said it out loud, Council, shall we offer your application with the condition of approval of no kitchen?
Sure.
So when I read the call at the vote, that will be a condition offered.
And you know, double bootstrap it. No kitchen, and will not be as a dwelling. The kitchen's fine. And
No, we'll stick to the no kitchen.
That's fine.
So I just want to make sure that I have it noted that we'll be offering that condition as a condition of approval.
Stipulated and agreed.
Mr. Chairman, is there a distinction between kitchen and cooking facilities?
Kitchen is sufficient.
John, so question or observation. It looks to me, when I look at the survey, like there is an 18-foot drainage easement on one side of the property.
Yes.
So that, would that not serve as a hardship? Because that's part of the property you can't use. Theoretically, that deck could go on the side and have beautiful ocean views, not looking at the creek. So they can go on the side and have a nice view of the Long Island Sound. But because that easement, you can't have that.
Right, and that easement also actually diminishes your coverage calculation, so I appreciate you again. So nice, Danny. But there is such a drainage easement, and it could not be built over.
Okay, any further questions from the board? Seeing none and hearing none. Is there anyone in the room or online here to speak in favor of this application? Seeing none and hearing none. Is there anyone in the room or online wishing to speak in opposition to this application? A chance to unmute. Seeing none, hearing none. Matter is closed.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Okay. Off to number 3. Petition of 56 Brookview Avenue, map 31, parcel 213. Petition of William and Karen Stratton for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.4, to reduce the street line setback from 30 feet, currently 24.2 feet, proposing 24.2 feet, and section 5.2.5 to legitimize the lot coverage from 20%, currently 35.7%, permission to construct a second floor addition premises a zone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, board, for hearing our case. I am Bill Stratton, and that's my wife, Carrie, over there. And we would like to finish off our attic in our home at 56 Brookview Ave to put 2 dormers on either side, to add 3 bedrooms and full bath and half bath for the purpose of an expanding family. And currently, my daughter Chelsea and her husband James live in the house with their 3-year-old daughter Finley, and my daughter is expecting another child in September. James has just put himself through med school, and we took out the mortgage for them. They are paying the mortgage. He is paying off all his loans also. He is now currently a resident at St. Vincent's Hospital, Bridgeport. And they are fast outgrowing the house. So they love the area, they love the neighborhood, they have great relationships with the neighbors. Currently, their home is the only home on the street without a second story. They want to increase their living space in keeping with the style of the bungalow that the house is. My daughter is very concerned about making sure it's in keeping with the neighborhood and style of the property itself. As I said, their hardship is just that they're fast outgrowing this home, and as you know, with the prices of houses just going through the roof recently, this is their best option. And again, they do want to stay in Fairfield, but here, great relationships. I did include, and I thought that the packet was included today. I don't know if that was brought in, but I gave it to with a petition from all the neighbors on the street, including, there we go, including some letters from the neighbors of support that are in favor. Size. I do have, if you're interested, I don't need to burden you with them, but I do have comparables of the other homes on the street with the lot sizes and the square footage of the homes and the ratios. And what we're proposing here is basically keeping the house within the same ratios of the other houses in the neighborhood.
I don't think we need to see it.
Okay. Also going to defer to my wife, who is much more articulate.
I think you did a great job. We were getting all nervous following these attorneys. Really.
That's all right. Do you have anything further you'd like to add?
No, I don't want to burden you with a long song.
That's quite all right. I'm gonna ask the board if they have any questions. It's almost rhetorical at this point.
So I know you talked to the hardship about your family. I do notice that your lot area is 5,856 feet. So required to have 9,000. So say that the hardship might be that.
Yes. Oh, yes. That, I was thinking that the whole time, and this is the worst.
And you're not increasing coverage at all, and you are still within the FAR.
Oh, yes.
Fantastic. Do you have another question? Okay, seeing no other questions from the board. Are there any people here wanting to speak in favor of this application? You don't count. Let me rephrase. Always count, simply represented well. Is there anyone online? No. Seeing none, hearing none. Anyone in the room or online wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Seeing none and hearing none, hearing is closed. Oh, I made sure of that.
I just wanted.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And number 4, petition of 1669 Mill Plain Road, map 145, parcel 98C, petition of Michael T. and Melissa C. Melissa G. Clear for a variance of zoning regulations section 5.2.4 to reduce the sum of 2 sideline setbacks from 25 feet, currently 46.4 feet, proposing 16.4 feet. Permission to demo the existing garage and rebuild the garage with mudroom and home office above. Premises is A zone. Dude?
Good afternoon. My name is Richard Cornette. My company is Fire Development.
Address for your company, please.
1669 Mill Plain. Yes, the Clears are looking to add those rooms that we talked about, the family room, apartments, for attach the garage to the main building. All the way up, staircase and the second to this one. Take down the existing garage. Survey. There's no way to get the said property. Our garage that was put on the building sometime in the 50s or 60s. There's no, it's on it. There's no structure. Supporting the thought of it to just nice in the neighborhood, but the intent is to take down the garage, do foundation work that's in structure, down, build foundation in the same place. So the house. Now it's non-conforming. 7 feet, I think 9 point something. It's like 16 feet current. That same number. second floor, we need 25 feet. Garage. 60 or car garage. Take down the existing. Away from itself.
I'm gonna ask a question of Matt first, and this is one of those where we talked about earlier, just the way they get written out. So the pre-existing structure, the currently existing structure is at the 14.6 feet. 16.4 feet. So they're just gonna build to that line. So they're not exacerbating a setback, they are just sticking to where it is. Okay. The way this reads, it looks like they're cutting 30 feet or 20 something feet out of the.
Just going straight up.
They're just going straight.
Straight out.
Well, they're removing it, and yeah, I just want to make clear that there's an existing structure at the 16.4 feet that. That was just for my own clarification. Jane or anybody else have anything?
So you're making that a sort of structure. So what's the hardship?
Well, the hardship is that the existing condition as it is not complying. If we're asking. Exacerbated that. 7 now, and you have to be 25. And make the structure 8 feet smaller. Then I don't get the ones on that. A petition from right here, in front of her.
So Jody, we'll just pass it down, never look at it, we'll give it to her. You just can't keep that one.
So the people who are most impacted, your next door neighbors,
Then right.
stack. I'm sorry, it's on the other side. Yeah.
So this was the homeowner.
Yeah.
She went on.
I'm looking, but I see a last name on the side. Did.
Is she the one on that second page? Right. Those are the addresses.
Either now or formerly.
Okay, so it's.
Sometimes a surveyor doesn't update the name.
Okay, so I see, so it's the first name on here, is that that's what that is, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none and hearing none. Is there anyone in the room wishing to speak in favor of the application? Someone online? Seeing none and hearing none, is there anyone in the room or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? Seeing none and hearing none, hearing is closed. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, just so you know, Jane, the person that signed it is the name on the survey.
Is the name on the survey, okay.
It's the first name.
Yeah, we saw it.
Oh, I see right here. Okay, sorry, you're right.
There you go.
That's all right.
Number 5. Petition of 297 Pemburn Drive, map 125, parcel 57, petition of 297 Pemburn LLC for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.4.3 to reduce the sideline setback for a detached accessory structure from 4 feet, currently 2.1 feet, proposing 2.1 feet, permission to remove and rebuild an existing detached garage on the existing footprint. Premises is A zone. State your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Kevin Indiviri. It's my wife Lorraine, and we live at 297 Pemburn Drive. We are seeking to replace the single car garage that's falling down. This thing is all cracked, exact footprint, same height, same width, exact same that's there. So just looking to replace it. That's pretty much it.
Brevity is the soul.
Unless Jane has any questions.
From Mr. Decker?
Sorry?
At what point is this considered not like if they repair it?
Inherited, you have to leave the roof. Once you remove the roof, then you have to,
Is the thing?
The roof is the thing.
The roofing or the roof structure?
the roof structure.
Yeah, that's what I always thought, that it's the roof. Now we know. No other questions from the board? Anybody in the room or online wish to speak in favor of the application? Seeing none and hearing none, anyone in the room or online wish to speak in opposition to this application? Seeing none and hearing none, hearing is closed. Thank you very much. And we are now on, the hell are we on? Number 6, right? 272 High Meadow, map 229, parcel 269, petition of Gregory Simone for a variance of the zoning regulation section 5.2.4 to reduce the street line setback from 50 feet, currently 31.9 feet, proposing 31.9 feet to house and 25.9 feet to covered open porch. Permission to construct an open front porch and additions per plans. Premise is AA zone. Name and address for the record.
I'm Michael Becker of 2060 Kings Highway in Fairfield. I'm here today representing Greg Seaman, the owner of 272 High Meadow Road. A little history on the property. Greg's grandfather built the house in 1947. He's been in the family since then. It was passed on to his uncle, and he passed away. He inherited it in 2018 and has subsequently had it leased out since then. There, his family, long-term Fairfield residents, live in Trumbull currently and want to come back to Fairfield. So they want to make some improvements to the home, reasonably modest, and I'll go over a couple of details on it a lot. The hardship here today is that it is about a 26,000 square foot lot, AA zone. So that's a 1 acre zone, so you're looking at 4,000 square feet. The house was built with a setback of 31.9 feet. So you're staying, in a minute. You're staying addition of the garage space. Actually, it's greater than 31.9 feet because we have built it and set back 4 feet to match the setback part of the house on the left. You'll see on the line. Variance on the front is we want to add a portico of 6 feet. That was a conforming lot. It would have been 50 feet, but it was a conforming setback. I would have had a 10-foot setback allowance for an open porch. That's that, and provide some protection to the front of the house, and also tie in the look on the front, as you'll see from the elevations. They're doing 2 dormers on the front. They're adding a shed, that's the rear side. dormers on the front, matching up with the existing windows, adding a living room. And on the back, we're adding a shed dormer. And on the right side, we're adding additional garage space. That's again at it's 35.9 feet back, the garage. And again, none of this affects the setbacks or anything. Would be the screen porch that's on the house now. We added a screen porch in the back, and small mudroom in the back that you don't see by the garage, but that's not we have, even though we added footage, we've stayed within lot and floor area based on the percentages, actually way under the floor area percentage for the reduced lot size, which is substantially less than if it was a full lot. And the lot coverage is still slightly under 10%. Now, additions, Matt's list actually had 5. I added a few more, as I usually try to get as many people signing off as possible. One of my tried the hardest, and I get them. They might be away because 4 trips and they didn't respond to a business card left in the mailbox. So that was not one of Matt's anyway. We have 7 people here. People on the street, 3 or 4. Uncle already from back then, and one of them knew your grandfather. So I mean, they've been on the street. There's people around here that they were.
Anything else? Board have any questions? Seeing none and hearing none. Anyone in the room wish to speak in favor of the application or online? Seeing none and hearing none. Anyone in the room or online wish to speak in opposition to this application? Seeing none and hearing none. You can give those to Jody. Thanks. Off to number 7. Petition of 218 Rakoczy Avenue, map 79, parcels 741. Petition of Alfredo and Diara Donis for a variance of zoning regulations section 5.2.4 to reduce the street line setback from 20 feet, currently 21.7 feet, proposing 14.5 feet to house and 9.5 feet to open porch. Permission to construct a 1-story addition and an open front porch with stairs. Premises is B zone.
Board. Alfredo Donis, my home, and my wife is screen over there. Instead of done, just trying to propose to build a mudroom for the front of the house. Wise is that we're located in a residential B zone. Minimum lot size and shape are required to be 6,000 square feet, 60 square foot. It's only 5,000 square feet in size and it has a square. We also have a 12-foot right of way between our front property line and curb.
Played, sir. Board have any questions? No questions. Anybody in the room wish to speak in favor of this application? Anybody online? Except you, Dee, we know. Seeing none and hearing none, anyone online or in the room wish to speak in opposition to this application? Seeing none and hearing none, matter is closed. Thank you very much. Absolutely. And off to number 8, petition of 511 Winnapaug Drive, map 73, parcel 179. Petition of Julie Vanderblue and for a variance of the zoning regulation section 5.2.4 to reduce the street line set and sideline setbacks from 40 feet and 15 feet, currently 45.4 feet and 14.8 feet, proposing 34.2 feet and 8.6 feet. Permission to construct a 1-story, 2-car garage. Premises is R3 zone.
My name's Thor Vanderblue. We live at 511 Winnebago Drive. Lifelong resident. We just moved to about 4 months ago. The existing structure, they converted the existing garage into living space. So we came here with the idea of hope to put a one-car garage in the front. The lot is pie-shaped. We have wetlands in the back, so we're right on the water. A good portion of our property is in the area, so it's hard for us to put a garage anywhere else on the property because the way the property slopes down, and we felt our best option to keep the house as small as possible and look in the neighborhood is to put a small 20 by 20 foot garage, 1 story. We're increasing the pitch of the roof a little bit just to kind of make it look like it's not any taller than the existing. It's only 18 feet tall, so it's existing. That's the existing house. In the new pitch, you could see it's 11 pitch, a little steeper than normal, but the same height as the existing. We are existing garage, or the existing corner of the house is within the setback. Our setbacks are 15 feet on both sides, and the existing house is 14.9. It's just inside the 15 feet. We're side a couple feet, and then front a couple feet. But the house does end short of the existing walkway. It's about 5 houses that are in our neighborhood that have garages that, building a West Realtor, we fans of garages that come forward because that's what you see first. But in this case, there's other neighbors across the street that have the garage, and we feel that the look is not, story. So that's my spiel.
Questions from the board? Seeing none, hearing none.
Hardships already.
Seeing none and hearing none, is there anyone in the room who wishes to speak in favor of this application? Online or on the phone? Seeing none and hearing none, is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? No one here in favor, no one here in opposition. Matter is closed. Who needs 5 minutes? Right to Jody, right down there. Okay. All right, I'm going to remind all who remained in attendance that what goes on from this point forward is not for response, answer, or for anyone to speak other than the members of the board itself. This is our session of deliberation. We open it as a courtesy. Please respect it as such. So let's get started. Number 7 on the continued docket went to August. Number 1 on the general docket was the petition of 22 Fairfield Place, map 231, parcel 355, petition of 22 Fairfield Place LLC for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 12.7.6.2, to increase the permitted sideline setbacks from 0 feet, proposing 4.4 feet, section 12.7.6.3, to reduce the rear setback from 10 feet, proposing 3.4 feet, permission to remove and rebuild an existing garage. Premises is DCD zone. This was presented by Chris. Need a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Jane.
Second.
And seconded by Faith. And comments, please.
Hardship that was expressed has nothing to do with it's because there's hardship on a site. It doesn't really do whatever. So I think that this project is too big. This neighborhood.
Well,
other options to get what they need.
Keep in mind, this property is 45% FAR, they could do 150%. They could build 100.
But that's not what they're asking for today.
No, but I'm saying but they're not, it's not too big. You can't say it's too big. You can say whatever you want, but it's not too big because they're allowed to do 3 times that.
it's 30% of what's allowable on the site.
Yeah.
And just
Existing garage is not, existing garage setback is already non-conforming.
Saying they could have built a second garage. So there's nothing really preventing them from doing that, other than this is what they want, this.
Well, it reduces the functionality of the space. They could build a second garage, but I would see it as 2 problems. One, it reduces the functionality and the drivability of the lot. The other is what they're putting there, I think, is a benefit to, just based on the design itself, get the vans off the street. It's not I don't think it's building it consistent with what the existing structure looks like, not putting up a cinder block garage. Like if it was gonna be some mudded garage or something, I'd say one thing, but if they're gonna build it to be consistent with the existing property, and Chris did make one decent point that if they were to change the garage, sorry, Chris, if they Katie, you had to hand up this hardship and then, and that is an existing hardship. But if they were to build it to code, you'd be pushing it towards a residential space, which is desirable in any neighborhood. You would have to.
Make it 10 feet away.
And it's sitting halfway behind the house, behind the office.
It's because they want a 4-car garage.
It's also good, I personally it's good for the neighborhood, because I think you all of a sudden have property in a residential neighborhood that has garage here, garage there. It starts looking again like commercial property, which I think the people on the street would probably prefer not to have that look and feel, right? I mean, if you're a resident living right across the street, you don't want to see, I wouldn't want to see a bunch of different garages.
Especially not matching. Then it really looks tacky.
Like I said, it's context, it's design. It's bigger than it needs to be.
So in terms of design, and it's not necessarily part of our purview. Zoning, part of zoning is design. Like I said, if they were building a hooded face garage or something that would just look like an industrial structure, they've gone to design the structure to be consistent with the existing building, so it looks, if anything, it's going to look almost like a large barn with 2 big doors on it. It's fairly consistent with something else in the neighborhood. Somebody's already got that same type of garage in the neighborhood. And, precedent, it allows for consistency within the neighborhood. And I'll point out one other point, and they had to have done their job and notification and they got signatures. There's no objection. It's without objection in the neighborhood itself, including from the abutting and adjoining neighbors.
So one more question for Matt. You both stated that part of our purview is design. I don't think part of ours planning, I don't think part of our variance process is design, is it?
So I'm just making a statement, zoning is design. I mean,
but is that part of our?
It's not, aesthetically, it's not.
I'm not talking about aesthetics.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about,
It's the way that I interpret it is that consistency with the intent of the zoning code and the regulation and what the plan of the greater plan of Fairfield.
Not aesthetic.
So not aesthetic design. Does it fit with what that zone is intended to allow? Does it fit with the surrounding neighborhood? And this design fits with the surrounding neighborhood. The use is consistent with what the area is allowed to do. And it is, I wouldn't disagree that it's not a large structure, but with what is zoned and what we are permitted to, I think we'd be facing an appeal if we did it purely on the size of it, because they're at 45% of coverage where they're they're allowed to have 150. I think we lose that on
It's
appeal
not
alone.
large for a 4-car garage. That's pretty much standard, the width. But these are
He's got-
commercial
he's got-
vehicles.
Okay, I mean, this is.
So that's it, I mean, listen, it's commercial, I understand your point is well taken, it's not a small structure. However, it's consistent with the use of the district, it's under the size allowable on the lot, there's no variance here for size. I would find it difficult to deny it on the grounds of what we're here to judge.
I think what neighbors object to is living next door to commercial vehicles or boats or things like that. And if they're covered and hidden, that's a benefit.
Except that this zoning experience will continue long after potentially this tenant is gone. So you have no control over that. So he says, oh yeah, they'll pull. The condition that.
But even if they did, the terms of, they don't have
They don't
to.
have to, I know, to make that, well, okay, I mean, and when I say zoning is design, it's conservation development is all about design, and that's the other part of that documentation, what?
Right, but that's not us. We don't consider conservation
Development,
and
well,
development,
that's
that's not it.
the variance. Ask Attorney Fallon, he always says you have to meet conditions. One is whether
The
it's
comprehensive
consistent with
design,
conservation development, so.
no, not conservation and development.
Yeah.
This is conservation development.
It
It
is,
is?
kind of
I
conservation
keep thinking
development,
it's the other one.
yeah. So
But-
it's a general statement, you know, I'm not talking about aesthetics. And I'm not going to make it, I hope we don't make a decision based on what he could have done. That's irrelevant. What is presented before us.
And for a vote, Tom? Yes. Motion carries. And on to number 2, 1177 and 1180 Fairfield Beach Road, map 184, parcel 69 and 217, petition of Snug Estate LLC for a variance of zoning regulations, section 11.1.4.1 to allow a detached accessory structure to have finished living floor area with plumbing and heat to exclude a kitchen. Section 11 dot, I'm putting it in the middle. Do I have to append it to the bottom?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll append it to the bottom. So I'm gonna start the call again. 1177 and 1180 Fairfield Beach Road, map 184, parcel 69 and 217, petition of Snug Estate LLC for variance of zoning regulations, section 11.1.4.1 to allow a detached accessory structure to have finished living floor area with plumbing and heat, section 11.10 to increase lot coverage from 29.6 proposing 32, section 11.11.2 to reduce the side setback from 5 feet, currently 2 feet, proposing 2 feet, and section 11.14 to reduce the setback from Pine Creek from 10 feet, currently 9.1 feet, proposing 7.2 feet, floor overhang 3.9 feet to AC deck and 2 feet to proposed deck. Permission to demo existing accessory structure and rebuild. Premises is zone. This application was offered with a condition of approval that no kitchen will be designed or built in the premises. Need a motion to approve.
To approve.
Motions to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Jane seconds. Discussion, please. don't all jump in
I
at
think
once.
for me, I think that the fact that there's that 18-foot drainage easement is big. They don't have, I mean, quite frankly, that deck's looking at the fire, it's not the best view from that deck at all. It's looking at like fire training center. It'd be much nicer to have it on the side of the house. They could do it, but they can't do it because of the drainage easement. I think being FEMA compliant also just adds to your coverage requirements.
It adds to elevation requirements, and then I guess for stairs to get up.
Stairs to get up, also AC platforms, generator platforms. I think the drainage easement's a big one.
The issue with the size of the
But they could take that deck and do that size on the side of the house, which would be a nicer place to have it, but they can't do it because of that easement.
Consistency
I
with.
was thinking the same thing, like, why do you need a deck?
Yeah.
But the reality is, you can't have a deck on the side because of that drainage easement.
I think the consistency with the neighbors on either side, and the fact that they did keep it behind to an extent, to not obstruct those two views, to have that consideration was reasonable enough to me.
What about the issue of the full bathroom? This is, as I'm understanding it, half bathroom question as to whether it was space.
I think it's just a conception that a full bathroom denotes like a full living space. I don't.
The kitchen does that, doesn't it?
I think the kitchen does more of that.
It's a living space.
Yeah, I think a kitchen makes a livable.
It could be a yoga studio that you want to take a shower in.
Right.
Space.
But I mean, the provision, it's there, it exists. I think it's a concept, if you will. And based on the use, and I don't think it's an unreasonable ask, given the considerations of the rest of the property. Anything else, Jane?
To look at each of the regulations of it's for, it's like they're just over the line at each one. I understand and we're okay with that, but discussion of family requirements, I just wish that was never part of any presentation because it colors everything and it should have nothing.
We should have a separate discussion about that as a board, what our guidelines should be.
We can, and I try to, you guys hear me, I try to say, keep the family out of it. We have souls, but at the same time, we're here to have certain considerations. But even without it coloring, even without the family requirement, the considerations that they took to stay out of the view of their neighbors, to not obstruct, to the fact that a good percentage of their coverage is that overhang, isn't it? It's the fact that it's just a decorative overhang. If you pulled the roof line back 6 inches, or you made the deck 6 inches smaller, and some combination thereof. But I don't think that I don't see any real grounds to deny it on those small things. And the other that I'll state again, and I know you guys don't like it when I repeat myself, but if there was a problem, the neighborhood has the recourse of appeal. They also have the opportunity to show up here and say, I don't want this in my neighborhood. I don't think it'll be a good thing. The neighbors here signed off. Neighbors here said, this is going to look a hell of a lot better than what's there. It's a significant improvement to the design and neighborhood itself based on what's there now. So that at minimum cancels out some of the just one discussion. There's no one on this board who works in real estate or design is going to tell you this. That's not an improvement or an increase to value in the neighborhood.
We're not supposed to.
No, but I'm just saying, we consider a lot of things we're not supposed to consider. But at the same time, I think it's consistent with the comprehensive zoning plan. I think it's just a function of. Katie?
Yes.
Say.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Carries, thank you. These are gonna be quick. Let's see here. Number 3, 56 Brookview Avenue, map 31, parcel 213, petition of William and Karen Stratton for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.4 to reduce the street line setbacks from 30 feet, currently 24.2 feet, proposing 24.2 feet, and section 5.2.5 to legitimize the lot coverage from 20%, currently 35.7%. Permission to construct a second floor addition, premises is A zone. I need a motion to approve. Joe got in there. Who's gonna second? Seconds, discussion.
Increasing the coverage, FAR.
By half. Katie?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Thank you. No problem. Have a good day.
I have a question.
Don't forget to record it.
Do I get 1 hour later?
The Wednesday after.
Okay, sure. Barry, I'm waiting.
Yes, I wait.
On to number 4.
Motion to stay.
Unless you're walking home. 1669 Mill Plain Road, map 145, parcel 98C, petition of Michael T. and Melissa G. Clear for a variance of zoning regulation, section 5.2.4 to reduce the sum of 2 sideline setbacks from 25 feet, currently 46.4 feet, proposing 16.4 feet. Permission to demo the existing garage and rebuild the garage with mudroom and home office above. Premises is A zone. Need a motion to approve. Need a second.
Jane seconds.
Jane seconds. Discussion. This is the one that I asked. The garage was actually already sitting there.
Pre-existing non-conforming.
Yep.
They're still well under coverage in FAR.
Yep.
One of the things I think about is hardship is something creating a hardship to your neighbor. Is that too? And I don't think so.
I don't think so. Okay. Anybody else? Katie?
Yes.
Faith?
Yes.
Joe? Yes. I'm a yes. Number 5, 297 Pemburn Drive, map 127, parcel 57, petition of 297 Pemburn LLC for a variance of zoning regulation section 5.2.4.3 to reduce the sideline setback for a detached accessory structure from 4 feet, currently 2.1 feet, proposing 2.1 feet, permission to remove and rebuild an existing detached garage on the existing footprint. And the premises is A zone. Motion to approve.
So,
Jane. Second.
Second.
Faith seconds. Discussion.
Change.
Somebody just say he had the audacity to propose a garage without a second floor.
No change.
No change. He's literally replacing the structure.
You don't want to do
Things falling down, put a new one up. Should be a requirement. Actually, don't know if I can say that on the record. But I did, so move to strike. Any further comment? Katie?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Joe? Yes. Jane?
yes.
Yes. All done. Number 6, 272 High Meadow, map 229, parcel 269, petition of Gregory Simone for a variance of the zoning regulation section 5.2.4 to reduce the street line setback from 50 feet, currently 31.9 feet, proposing 31.9 feet to house and 25.9 feet to covered open porch permission to construct an open front porch and additions per plans. Premises is AA zone. A motion to approve. Jane got it. Second.
Second.
Faith gets the second. Discussion, please.
This is a pre-existing non-conforming lot size in an existing house that was built. That's where it is.
Yeah. Entirely, it's literally half the size of the lot square footage that is required. Katie?
Yes.
Faith?
Yes.
Joe? Yes. Jane?
Yes.
I'm a yes. No problem. Enjoy. Welcome home. Number 7, 218 Rokosi Avenue, map 79, parcel 741. Petition of Alfredo and Deara Donis for a variance of the zoning regulation section 5.2.4 to reduce the street line setback from 20 feet, currently 21.7 feet, proposing 14.5 feet to house and 9.5 feet to open porch, permission to construct a 1-story addition, an open front porch with stairs, premises is B zone. Need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moves. Second. Jane seconds. Discussion, please.
Situation where it's existing. It's on a lot that, you know, these lots were created a long time ago, so they don't conform.
1,000 square feet under the minimum lot size. Was right. Be good.
That back, the existing house is conforming to back, but what he's proposing is fine by me.
Katie,
Yes.
say your name first. Joe.
So.
Jane.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. And number 8, 511 Winnipogue Drive, map 73, parcel 179, petition of Julie Vanderblue for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.4 to reduce the street line setback and sideline setbacks from 40 feet and 15 feet, currently 45.4 feet and 14.8 feet, proposing 34.2 feet and 8.6 feet. Permission to construct a 1-story, 2-car garage, premises is R3 zone. A motion to approve. Motions to approve. Second. Jane seconds. Discussion, if you would. Don't all jump in at once.
I mean, number one, they're asking again to do a 1-story garage. They're not.
Yes, God forbid.
Big monstrosity. And there's like 3 different hardships with regard to the property. They don't have the street frontage, they don't
Wetlands, topography.
eye shaped, grade, the setback is not conforming, so there's quite a few.
Even as a builder and a realtor, she's willing to put a garage put forward on their own property. Joe, you got anything? No. Jane, anything? Katie?
Yes.
Faith?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
Yes. Hearing is closed. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Show.